We have been speaking about faith. Okay, faith in oneself. Given how many times you and I have stumbled and fallen and failed, it might seem like quite a proposition. We could qualify it a little bit. Say, we're talking about having faith in God the possible, in the Creator within us, within you and within me. Always present. And always a reason to have ultimate faith. Tune into that. I'd like to read from the American poet Walt Whitman. Wrote a poem called Song of Myself, and this is from the beginning. I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume, you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me, as good belongs to you. I celebrate myself. Seems to me the Creator's doing that every moment of creation. Celebrating himself, herself, celebrating all the essences of creation that are present. That's what we're here to do, I believe. That is what's true for me. I'd like to consider with you the significance of what we do in manifest form on earth. That is, what we express of ourselves into the world, what we put out there in any way, whether on the handpan, speaking, singing, working, creating whatever, having a conversation. What is the significance of what we manifest? What we manifest in expression has often clear, practical implications. You need to balance your checkbook, cook breakfast, do whatever it is. So there's clear implications in terms of the practical world, but something else happens too, because there's a relationship between what we express and embody in action in our worlds and the energy field that we create. Is there not? I am sure we've all noticed that. Whether it's going for a hike, singing a song, playing the piano or cello, whatever it is, that activity creates a field and therefore an experience that was not there before. Yes? It does if we're doing it right. I suppose if we're doing it with some kind of malice or complaint, that creates a field of its own kind, an energy of its own kind. But I'm talking about creative expression. It creates a field of energy. And that field of energy connects us to power. Things are possible with that field of energy that weren't possible before. We even come to know things we didn't know before because of that field of energy. You ever notice that? I noticed it. Notice it. And then I've noticed it specifically about us as a community of people. We've been talking about polyphony recently. Polyphony being the independent yet synchronous expression of life, of creativity among multiple people. Quite hard to achieve, it seems, for us as human beings, no? To come out of cacophony, chaos, or even uniformity to some kind of synchronous, independent expression of creativity, so that each of us are singing the song of ourselves, And I've noticed what has happened for us as we've done that. Particularly marked for me is our experience together over the last number of weeks, I'll say, a month, 2 months. There's something that has shifted. So often, I come into this room or some other room where we're gathering, and I can feel that field of energy already. We could ignore it. And if you ignore it, it isn't that relevant to you. But if you tune into it, it's there. And I notice that people who present, whether they're presenting musically or reading or speaking, they're tuning into that energy field that we've all generated. And so there is this synergy, this mutual empowerment between what we express, what gets manifest expression through us, and the energy field that we're living in. One feeds the other. We feel the energy field, and the energy field feeds us. Whoa. And you get that going, and you build a head of steam in that energy field that powers you down the train tracks of life. Yeah, he took the liberty of reading something from the Bible. I'd like to do the same. If I had a better way to express it, I would. But this says it incredibly. So think of this in terms of what I've just been speaking about. This is from Jesus. He used the word verily, which I love. Nobody around here uses that word, I don't think. It essentially means truly, like veritable. So he says, verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. If you're all bound up in your manifest expression of yourself, your energy field is going to be bound up. Your heaven, your personal heaven is going to be bound up. You won't have a head of steam. And whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. If you liberate it in your manifest expression of it, it'll be liberated in your energy field. You will walk around with the power of that liberated energy. So which would you rather have? So we're here to celebrate ourselves, to give manifest expression to creativity. As Gary's reading pointed out, not all off by our lonesome, deciding on an intellectual basis what we shall do, but using our finest discernment of the creative field and the creative urge that is in that field and the truest nature of it, attuning to that and giving it expression. I'd like to read something that we shared in our attunement training on Friday. This is from an early book of Deepak Chopra called Quantum Healing. Anybody remember that one? Very powerful book. Deepak is getting a little heady here, so just tune into the words and what he's saying. Quantum healing moves away from external high technology methods toward the deepest core of the mind-body system. This core is where healing begins. To get there and learn to promote the healing response, you must get past all the grosser levels of the body: cells, tissues, organs, and systems, and arrive at the junction point between mind and matter, the point where consciousness actually starts to have an effect. Other of the readings that we shared on Friday regarding the emerging science around attunement spoke of meditation, and meditation as a means of coming to this junction point. So at Sunrise Ranch, we've been speaking about the crossover point here for decades, being at the crossover point. It's the crossover point that allows what's in the source reality to come through the energy field, the field of consciousness and energy, and connect with matter. Deepak is saying that that's relevant for healing. Finding that place in yourself, that place of meditation, where all of the power and information from the invisible crosses over and then influences the body to keep the body healthy. You know, it's almost trite to say now, the mind-body connection. It's another one of those things people talk about, but who does anything about it? Who actually brings themselves to that point? Speaking of attunement, that's what attunement is all about. It's about finding that point for yourself as an attunement practitioner. And then if you're sharing an attunement with another person, finding that crossover point where new information can download for this field that you're sharing with this person, and therefore be available to them. But it is an act of meditation. Yes, the hands are involved, but it is all about what happens with consciousness. And when we say consciousness, we mean conscious awareness, our mental facility, but we're also including the heart, the emotional body. Yolanda famously said, you don't give attunement with your hands, you give attunement with your heart. What Deepak was speaking of is true relative to the physical body. How imperative for the health of all of us, right? Our state of consciousness. And that we deliberately find ways in ourself, unique to each of us, I'm sure, to go to that crossover point, that place where the source information, the source power comes in to our field. But this doesn't just relate to physical health. It relates to everything that we do as human beings, every field of activity. Certainly it relates to what we're doing here this morning. Aren't we all looking for that collective crossover point? That's what this is all about. Yeah, we're speaking some words and so on, making some music, whatever it is. Yes, there's the manifest expression, but all that is to build a head of steam and then to find a crossover point so something can drop down into this energy field that we're sharing together. The magical thing that for the most part we have forgotten as human beings, that this energy field that we share together, this head of steam, has consciousness. Consciousness is not just in here, between the ears. This is a conscious field we're sharing. One of the other quotations said that conscious awareness isn't so much contained within the brain. The brain is tuning into the conscious awareness of the field. So now we are that conscious awareness of the field, not just of this gray matter here. And then the intelligence, the higher intelligence that comes into that field can come into our experience together as human beings. The power of the source of creation can come in. Love can come in to our field and do its magical work. But that takes us coming to that crossover point between the invisible and the visible. And then it takes us with the courage to celebrate ourselves, to give expression to ourselves in a manifest way. Have you appreciated how people have been doing that in this context? Not that this is the only context in which it happens, but how people in this context have courageously just put it out there. To me, it's exciting. It is exciting and joyful, because when you're celebrating yourself, you're celebrating me at the same time. When I have faith in myself, in the source material within me, I exude faith in you, faith in that same source reality in you. We could go around, put our hand on each other's shoulder and say, I have faith in you. That might be appropriate one day. But far more meaningful is a person who just has that faith, knows that faith of the creative urge inside themselves, and has the courage to give it expression. Because when you do that, you're telling your neighbor something about themselves. I want to share something on a, I suppose, personal note around all this. Many of you know that I turned 70 earlier this year. Many of you were at my birthday party upstairs, a joyous occasion. It was important for me for probably many reasons, but one of which was that the founder of Sunrise Ranch and Emissaries of Divine Light once made the statement that under optimal circumstances, if everything went right, that a person might become mature at age 70. I thought that was a fabulous statement. And so I always looked forward to attaining that high status of reaching 70. So here are the thoughts that have been with me recently. I realized that I had been burdened by the ending of my first 70 years. Like, it's all over. That kind of feeling. You know, the career I once had, you know, and all these experiences are just over. And it's like, wow, I'm just old now, you know, those kind of feelings and thoughts. And recently I had this thought. I'm on my next 70 years. Now, none of us knows how long this is going to go. Chances are against me for the full 70. But what a reboot. I'm on my next 70 years. And I could feel all the energy of that new cycle. It's like a new birth. So, I don't know if there's anybody else in the room who just turned 70, but still, this might be relevant for you. Like, there's all of what's past, right? Some of which is still with us. So there are forms from my first 70 years that are certainly around now, but still, even though some of the forms look the same. Possibly, this is a new cycle for you too. And there are things that are just past and gone and over. No, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of what? Of what? You know? Let's find out. Let's give it expression. Let's let it come through. Let's celebrate it and celebrate ourselves in the process. Hey. Thanks, everybody.